Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. We are going to speak about remote testing as a service with PaytestLab. My name is David, I'm the head of sales at PaytestLab, and I will be showing you what we can offer in terms of testing as a service. So today's agenda is first we're going to speak about the challenges which are faced from our prospects in the testing industry. Then we show you the highlights of remote testing as a service. Obviously, we're going to speak about the cost and the cost savings which are involved. And afterwards, we are going to do a little live demo of how you can run remote testing from PaytestLab, wherever you are. And obviously, we have the Q&A section. So during the webinar, if you have questions, please drop them directly into the Q&A. And you can also vote each other's questions. So the ones with the most votes will be answered first. And then at the end, there's certainly enough time to really dig into the topic. So let me get straight ahead, and we're gonna speak about the modern testing challenge and how you can get from chaos to coordination. So today, very often teams are distributed not only within one building or one campus, but this can also be that people work from home or they are working from other countries or other states, which makes the testing process really difficult to handle and then creates testing silos. In addition to that, we have limited hardware access if somebody tests from a different place. And that doesn't make it easier because then you don't have the test cards available, so you don't have the terminals available that you need for testing. But to comply with the testing infrastructure, you really need to have everything on site. And that's a challenge today, which is very hard to address. In addition to the problems which we highlighted here, there's a lot of problem with distributing the hardware which is used for testing. So right now we face a lot of shipping delays, massive tariffs if we have to ship into the United States, but also if you ship into other countries like India or Brazil, there are just high duties and taxes involved, which makes it really hard to build and scale your testing process. But on the other hand, if you don't have the equipment available, your CI/CD pipeline will break because you don't have timely feedback. You're not able to run the tests as quickly as you desire. And this makes it really, really difficult for the teams to scale and manage what has been tested. So what we see often as well is that people work in different locations. Somebody works at the office, somebody at home, and then they start duplicating the testing effort because they don't sync, they can't see what has already been tested. And those challenges all need to be addressed and resolved. So how do we do that? We offer remote testing as a service. So we have one platform to rule them all, and it's quite easy and straightforward. So what we offer is you receive a personal tenant within PaytestHub, and on that tenant, we are hosting your equipment, your payment terminal, your point of sale, your cash register, all within our lab, and you just access and manage it through the cloud. You run your tests, you get the reports, the logs, the receipts, everything digitalized, and then you just do the debugging afterwards. What we also can help you with is obviously managing the hardware, because that's all with us. There's no need for you to set up the robotics, to calibrate them, to maintain it, to update the firmware. This is all handled from PaytestLab, and we can offer you to improve your test coverage. That means if you have today maybe 20 tests, we can scale that for you to 50, 100, 200 tests to really improve the quality of your test as well and the coverage. And overall, if you are worried about security and compliance, we have single sign-on for PaytestHub, which makes the software itself secure, but also we do penetration tests. We have a third party which is doing security environments in our lab and also antivirus, firewall, all those things. So there's really a high trust environment that none of your terminals could be accessed from somebody else, which is not supposed to do so. So how does it work? The onboarding is very straightforward. Basically, you send us your payment terminal or your point of sale and the cash register. We spin it up in our lab. So we choose the right equipment which is necessary for you to have. We tell you what we need, and then it's going online. Everything is connected. You're being onboarded into PaytestLab, and then you receive training instruction from us. So we're going to help you how to write and manage the test cases, how to run them. And once this is done, you're good to go and start your testing as a service experience. So once we have your terminal, this shouldn't take us more than 1 or 2 days, and then you're up and online. Should this terminal be something which is not yet mapped as a base plate, we will need to do that process, which takes around 6 to 8 weeks. But afterwards, your terminal will be up and running. So let's look at this a bit more in practice. We had this slide already on the first page. Let's imagine we have labs in different locations. So one lab is in the US, here in Florida, and then you have a lab as well in India, or you might be in the UK and in Brazil. And what we do now is we have 2 PayTest labs where we can host the hardware and your terminals. So it's either with us in the production environment in Slovenia, or we could also host it in Toronto in our office there. And then we have everything centralized through PaytestHub, which is on the cloud. And now all those different locations, they communicate to PaytestHub. So if you are a tester in the US, you can access now instantly the robot in Slovenia. You run the tests and you can share them with your colleagues in India. This is all real time, live, and always up and available for you 24/7. Now, the big question which you all will have, how much does this set me back? But it's actually not about setting you back with money, but about saving money. So let's talk about money and how much we are able to save you. So this calculation is available online. You can play around with that after the webinar, then I'll share the link. But in this scenario, we are going to imagine that we have a tester which costs us around $8,000 a month. So this is including all the overhead costs, salary, taxes, insurance, and obviously this adjusts widely depending on the region you're coming from today. Now we are imagining we are somewhere in Europe. We got to do 300 tests for a test run in a month, and it's rather complex, so it takes me 120 hours. Then the calculation for the cost per test case is as following. We take the $8,000 divided by 160. That's 40 hours per week, which is an average around Europe, and multiply this by the 120 hours, which you need to run the 300 tests. Now divide this number by 300 test cases and you receive a US dollar or $20 per test case. That's your cost for the manual test case execution. If we look at that with the robotics, you will pay a monthly hosting fee to PaytestLab, which is to ensure that your equipment is always up and running. And for one environment and one terminal online, we start at $4,110. And then you pre-purchase a package of test cases. And depending on how many test cases you buy, the number of test cases gets cheaper and cheaper. So in this scenario where we would have one environment, 4,000 test cases and 65 cents per test case, the math is following. You take the $4,100, add the 4,000 test cases times 65 cents and divide this by 4,000 test cases again. So one test case execution will be $4.70. Now, the more test cases you buy, the cheaper this number gets. And that's what you can then play around with in the cost savings player. So if we compare now the manual workload to the automation, again, we have the $20, which are the cost for manual, and the $4.70 for the cost for automation. And if we think about executing 1,000 tests, so that would be maybe 3 months of workload, we would save over time $15,000, which is around 76% of a cost saving compared to executing the tests manually. So there's real value which you can get from test automation and testing as a service by outsourcing it to PaytestLab. Then your testers or your software developers, they can focus on different, more productive tasks, and you invest that money into software development, into writing additional test cases or debugging your software. So there you see the link where you can go and click and then run this calculation as well. We will send that afterwards, certainly in the follow-up email to you as well, so you don't need to type it in, but then can just click on it and go and play around for your regional costs. Now let's go to the live demo. I'm going to show you PaytestHub. I'm going to run a test set, tell you a little bit how the setup works, and then we have time to go over your questions. And I see there's already some in which are published, so don't mind posting them now. There's certainly enough time for us to address them all. Just open my right window. So here we are. This is PaytestHub. Let me just go to full screen. Right, so we have our tenant. You see, I'm now logged into the demo tenant. So here you would have your personalized tenant only accessible for you. In that tenant, you could then set up your own users. There's no limitation on how many users you can have. You can create roles as well and set the permissions. So if it's a tester, which can only execute test cases, or if it's an admin, which can also write or create new environments, that's something you can manage here in the user and identity management. On the main page itself, we see then the different agents which are installed. So each agent is a Paytest API installed locally on a computer. And to that computer, we connect now the hardware. So if you would have a terminal with us, let's say this will be your environment, you would see I have a PaytestRobot T1. I have a Custos terminal on that robot that you can see here. And then we have different extensions to this. So for example, we have a camera which can show you the picture of the terminal. We could obviously position this a bit further away that you can see the whole robot. We can position this as well to look at the display from top down so that we can read and capture the screen. But if it's an Android terminal, we will then use ADB because that's much more accurate as well. So here we have the live stream, and that would also give you an option to remotely access the terminal because now you can also, through ADB, click on the terminal and change terminal settings. Within PaytestHub, we not only manage your environment, but we also write the test cases for you. So you have then test sets and the library of test cases where we can either write them for you or you write them yourself. And this helps then to do the testing. So in this scenario, we do different basic transactions, account verifications, cash in advance. And then I just choose the right environment where I would like to run this. So for example, the T1 Castles, which is with me today in the office, I run it. And that's what you would now see from afar, wherever you are. You would see that the terminal is now being tested. And within PaytestHub, you receive now all the logs, the receipts, the images, and at the end, a comprehensive test report, which gives you everything you need to know about the software which you just installed and tested on the environment. So on this live stream, we not only have the camera view, we have also the ADB view again, which shows us exactly what's happening on the screen. And as mentioned, we are able to capture images. So the image is now captured and added to the report. And we can collect receipts, not only from the card holder, but also from the merchant. That information is parsed and digitalized, either from a printed receipt or from an electronic receipt through 6ML or OPI or Nexo interfaces, and then made available online. In addition, if there would be, we can also now collect payloads. And what we get as well from ADB is the CPU usage, the battery level, and the memory which is being used. And over the duration of your test run, you can also measure if there's any memory leaks or battery level dropping down drastically. That's then all visible on a test case level. Once a test case has been completed, you see we have a comprehensive library with all the test cases available. And here I have a test run, which I completed a bit earlier today. So we can see the memory usage spiked a tiny little bit at the beginning of the test case and then was pretty stable. There's no unusual behavior in the CPU, and the battery level is stable as well because it's plugged in. So we didn't expect anything else right here. And then when we are done with the report, we are able to download this. Let me just close my screen, otherwise I can't open that then. So the report is built automatically for you and made available within PaytestHub. You can then use this either as release notes or to share with your colleagues and get this across to whoever is interested in it, your stakeholders basically. This takes a little while. It is quite comprehensive and a big report. We'll see it's around 170 pages in a PDF. So the creation takes a little moment, but here we are. So that's now the report, which you can download. In that report, you see the run summary, what has been executed, how many test cases, how long it took, which ones failed. And afterwards, we have the diagnostics in detail as well here with the number of test cases for the duration and the percentage. So it's a bit easier for you to read. And afterwards, we have each and every test case in combination with the images which have been captured, as well as the receipts which are added. And that's then making up the whole report. You see, that's now 149 pages. Very detailed, very comprehensive, but really gives you the advantage and confidence as well that the testing you did from afar is well structured and to your requirements and to your needs. So I'm just going to go back to the test run so we can watch the robot, and then I'll start to answer the first questions which are coming in. Don't be shy, raise your questions in the Q&A. There's still time to get them all answered. So let me see if I can highlight them to you. I'm just going to read the question for you, then you know which one I'm going to answer. So what happens if a hardware terminal fails during test? Do you provide support or replacement? I assume this question is for actual hardware failure, that it will completely break and it would need to be interacted with to be resetted. So yes, we provide service that we do calibration for you, that we will take care of the terminal and make sure it's back up to date. You always have the option with ADB to interact with your terminal as well, if it's still accessible. But if it will totally fail and break, we would manually replace that terminal for you. That's how it would be handled. And anything else which is just software related, you can then just do it through ADB. So that will be much easier for you to do. Should there be a need for recalibration or changing the terminal if you don't want to have the same terminal always all the time? That's something which we offer as well. So you just let us know if you have two different terminal types, that 1 week you want to have terminal type A, next week you want to have terminal type B, and then we can change in between to accommodate both your testing requirements. Do clients maintain ownership of the terminals, or are devices hosted by PaytestLab long term? So the ownership of the terminals which you send to us, they belong to you. If you want to have the terminals back, we're going to send them back to you. We're not going to keep them. They're your property. And the same goes for the hardware of the robot. That will be our property. We just rent that to you or lease it depending on the contract you would like to have. And then if the contract expires, we would accordingly send you all the equipment back. We're not going to keep anything from you. And then we would basically use the robot which we use for somebody else, then again for someone. So what you need to worry about is only what you see within PaytestHub. All the rest on the back, which hardware we use, what do we do, how do we make the testing available, is not really your concern. You just want to make sure that you can log in and run the terminal whenever it is that you need to test. Then we have a question: what does the onboarding process look like, and how long does it typically take from setup to running the first tests? So normally, if we have your base plate already, I'm just going to show you the different base plates which we are able to test today. So this is a list of terminals. We can make that available for you in our help desk. So let's say you come to me and you tell me, hey, David, I need to test the Ingenico lane 7000 or 5000. Then we have that terminal already available. So you send us your device, we put it on the robot, and within 4 hours, it's basically online. Then the question is, do you want to write your first test cases yourself, or should we help you with that? And the first test case is done within an hour. And from there, we start scaling up. So the more test cases we write, the faster it gets. In a realistic timeline, if you want to have a test case coverage of around 200 test cases within PaytestHub and do the setup, it will take us around a week to do the onboarding process, and then you're good to go and start scaling from there. Once we have the first test cases as well written, let's say for the Ingenico lane 5000, and then you add the 7000 to the testing, we most likely can just copy paste most of your test cases and then transition them to the new device setup. Then we have a fourth question. Can the remote test environment be tailored to reflect specific network condition, language, or geographic locations? So we depends a bit on the region we are in. We can set up individual Wi-Fi networks for you as well if you need to have some specific settings. So with VPN settings, we can also simulate to be in a different region if you need to test something very specific. If you would require us to connect to a specific host or a specific gateway of yours, that's something which we can accommodate. And it's also possible to test in different language modes. So we are in Europe using many different languages. In Switzerland, we have 4 spoken different languages, and we can accommodate all of them. So right now, what you see on the display, that's German. We can do English, French, Spanish. We could also do some Asian language, Chinese, Japanese, if need be. We just need to train our system accordingly. It's a new question coming in. How scalable is the solution if we expand to multiple regions or need to test new payment methods? That's a very good question. So if you want to expand your business into new regions and you are unsure about the payment behavior in that region, we can help you by, for example, implementing new test cards. So if you are mostly US based, but you would like to expand into Germany, then you want to make sure that all the European cards and schemes also work. So what we could offer you is that we start hosting different payment terminal cards in our multiplexer and use them for testing. So we can then adjust your test cases accordingly. If you would like to expand in view of new payment methods, so tap on device, for example, is very big right now. That's also possible to do. So on the robot itself, we could then spin up a iPhone for you, and the iPhone would then accommodate the terminal testing in combination with your payment terminal. So that's something which is possible. It's also possible to add a Apple Watch if that would be a topic. So we just create a different base plate then to accommodate that. But adding a wallet to the PaytestRobot is no problem at all. So here you see we do tap on device payments. So this Apple Wallet is tested against this Castle Saturn terminal. On the back, we do EMV Level 3 certification. And over here, we have a fully integrated setup with Paytest ECR. And the scalability is given for you because we will have a robot dedicated for your environment. And if you tell us, hey, I need a second slot or I want to test a second terminal, then there's space available and we're just going to host that. And what you would receive then is a second environment in here as well. So you will see I have now 2 terminals, then 3, 4, 5, and so on. We have a question here. Is it possible to run parallel tests across multiple hardware units remotely? That's possible to do. So what you would have then is multiple environments in here. So we are hosting right now or setting up a T1 PAX A920 for EMV level 3 certification demos. And we have a Castle Saturn soon to be available in my demo room as well, which is doing tap on device. And right now it's set up for the VTT. So what you would then have is one tenant with multiple environments, and those environments are then tested parallel. So you just start multiple test runs on different terminals, and you see them then afterwards all in one place. How is access to each client's testing environment secured and segmented from other tenants? A good question. Let me just go to a new window, then I can show that to you, PaytestHub.cloud. So this is the login, how you would receive it. So you have to choose which tenant you are logging in already at before you actually sign in. So I have multiple tenants available depending on what I'm doing. So I would then log into the demo tenant and you would log into your personalized customer tenant. And now you have the possibility to either use single sign-on from your organization. So we are integrated with Microsoft, but we could also integrate other organizations or Google or Apple, whatever you use. It's just some customization on the back. And from here, you then log in securely to your environment. And that's also how we separate from different tenants. We have everything separated on the back end with individual installations, and nobody has access to other tenants. So it's always one user, one tenant. And then we make sure that it's not mix and match. Let me just check if I haven't missed any questions. And feel free to raise some more. We still have time scheduled. Looks like I have answered them all for now. So yeah, so this is pretty much how we can help you. So right now we most of the time sold our robots as well. We are moving away slightly from that because it's much faster if we just host the setup, and there's no cost involved as well to import the goods into another place. So it's straightforward. If you would like to explore that, we can also give you a demo account to the tenant. Then you can run this T1 environment here in Zurich at any given time. We will send a follow-up email and then let me know if you would like to have a demo account and tell me which email we should invite. Then you get an invitation and you can then test from your location to Switzerland and see the benefit of testing as a service. And afterwards, if you're convinced this is the right approach, what we need from you is your payment device. Send us your terminal. We're going to host that for you, and we can also do a 30-month trial period, 30 days trial period. And then after that, we would then start with the contract. So thank you very much for joining. I don't see any more questions right now which wouldn't be answered. So I think we call it a day and wrap it up. If there are any more questions after the webinar, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to help. Have a good day and see you soon.